What is that?
She's trying to let me know she want to eat, but she don't want to eat. She just want to use my boob as a pacifier.
Whoa.
Oh my goodness. You looking at your daddy, girlfriend. You looking at your daddy. Get your daddy look there. Oh my gosh, I literally cannot.
She loves me. Ask her again.
You looking at your daddy. Little girl. Oh, this is crazy to me that she keeps doing that. What's up, YouTube? What's up, YouTube?
It's your boy Marek, and I'm here with my beautiful wife.
Kothney-Issa.
And the newest member of the family.
We saying her name? ZALAYAH.
There she is, guys. We don't know how quite how loud we can talk, so she's a little milk drunk. She just ate, so we're gonna try to.
Say hi, ZALAYAH.
Her eyes are open.
Say hi, everybody. Thank you so much for all the gifts.
Yeah, we're back, and today I think we're going to share the birth story with you guys.
Yes, today we are going to give you all the juicy details of our birth story. We get a little fascinated with her, sorry.
And she's got to sit up right now because she just ate.
Yeah.
So that's why I got her sitting up even though she's trying to sleep.
All right, so we'll start at the top. So I guess we're gonna start really where it all happened, which was Wednesday morning, the 17th. Actually, that's when my water broke. And funny story, the day before, I left my parents' house and I said, you know, I don't know that I'm gonna be seeing y'all for a while because I think tomorrow I'm gonna go into labor. And what do you know? The next morning at 8 a.m. my water broke. Literally had no contractions or anything. I was just laying in the bed and I was like, that felt like. And I was like, oh, and I said, babe, wake up, my water broke. He was like, what, really? I'm like, yes. And so we had a small moment of panic and we're literally like, what do we do? And I'm just like laying in the bed, like, I don't know what to do. Then we ended up calling my midwife.
Well, you forgot a step. I was forced to do the smell test.
I didn't force it. You was just like, I was like, okay, we've got to document everything. He's talking about some, okay.
Yeah, so I had to make sure it wasn't pee, so I got to sniffing around, and sure enough, it was definitely odorless.
Yeah, I mean, and I was 100% sure I didn't pee on myself because I've up to that point had great bladder control. Like I was not even getting out of the bed.
Ooh, bless you, baby.
Bless you. I wasn't getting out of the bed more than twice, like throughout the entire night to pee. So when that happened, I knew, like my eyes shot open like in mid sleep, and I was like, oh my gosh. So yeah, we called our doula, we called our midwife, and everybody was just like, okay, just chill, hang out, go take a shower if you want to.
They're not even listening to you. They're looking at her. Look. See? Look. See?
I don't blame y'all because she literally is like the cutest little thing ever.
Hey, eyes on the story.
Yeah, so I was told to shower, eat breakfast, and rest. During that time, laying down, I was having contractions like right after my water broke, but they seriously felt like the lightest cramps. And then once I came down, was eating and like laid down to try to rest, I had some pretty strong contractions. Went into the birth center at noon and she checked me. I was 2 centimeters dilated. She said she could see hair, which was crazy because that was like the first time I had gotten checked my entire pregnancy. And so after my water broke, and then when she was checking, she was like, oh yeah, your water definitely broke. So they kind of did a non-stress test just to test to see if her heart rate was okay and to kind of monitor my contractions. Everything looked good. But my contractions were not that close. What were they, like 20 minutes apart or something like that?
Yeah, so from 8 a.m. until 4:30 p.m., they were all
all over the place.
Pretty light, yeah, and the times in between them was like all over, like from 20 minutes to like 7 minutes to back up to like 18 minutes, and it was all just kind of random,
yeah,
and just kind of light, and so there wasn't a whole lot of craziness happening.
We made a few trips, got some things that we needed, and then we went back home, and I drank 2 ounces of castor.
Hold on, though. You forgot a part. It literally felt kind of surreal because her water had broken. But here we were in like the drive-through of this like place called Slim Chickens, and it's like, your water broke. You supposed to be having a baby, and we're at the drive-through like ordering fries. Food, and we stopped at the store and grabbed a couple of more like supplements and things she needed. So it was kind of a weird day. Like it was a weird start because for me, I thought like once the water breaks,
it's a wrap.
Like it's time, it's go time. But in reality, I mean, we waited about almost 8 hours before the real contraction started. Yeah. So it was kind of a strange day. And when she talked about us going into the birth center at noon, we went in there, we had all our bags packed, we had everything, even though it wasn't even going to be an overnight stay. And they're like, you don't need those bags. You're probably going back home until the contractions get closer together. So it was a little bit different than what I was expecting. But it really got serious, and active labor started around 4:30 p.m.
Right, and the reason why it got so intense so quickly was because the midwife suggested to us to take for me to take some castor oil, because the birth center would not allow me to stay there if my water had been broken for 24 hours. So I would need to go to the hospital. They would admit me to the hospital if I didn't start active labor within that 24-hour period after my water broke. And nobody was trying to go to the hospital. So 2 ounces straight up, and I chased it with some soda, and it was disgusting, y'all. But it works because literally within the hour, my contractions, like at 4:30, my contractions were starting to come pretty consistently back to back. What were they, like 4 minutes apart, 5 minutes apart at that time?
So from 4:30 to 6:30, they were basically 4 minutes apart, and I was like, doesn't that mean it's time to go?
Yeah. But
everybody was just like still saying, oh, labor's long, hang tight. It was pretty much our doula, the midwife, and Kothney-Issa on one side, and then it was me and our videographer on the other side that were kind of like, maybe we should go in now.
Yeah, but I was like, well, I mean, if they're saying we shouldn't go in, like everything's good, we should just sit here and keep going through contractions.
Yeah, that was 4:30 to 6:30. They were like 4.5. Some of them were like 3:48 and like around that range.
Yeah, I could tell who was keeping track of the contractions because I clearly was not. I was just like going through them.
And then from 6:30 to 7:30, they kind of went back up, and they went back to like this.
Hiccups.
She got the hiccups. She gets them a lot. But from 6:30 to 7:30, they kind of went back up. Hold on, give us just 1 second. All right, so 25 minutes later, I think we got her down. I'm trying to remember where I was at in the story. So 4:30 to 6:30, 4-minute-ish contractions. 6:30 to 7:30, they went back up around 6-7 minutes. And then once about 8 o'clock p.m. hit, that's when they got real. You want to take it from there?
I was actually able to get a nap in when he said they went back up. I think there was like a 8-minute contraction break and a 11-minute, and I was able to take a little bit of nap, a small nap, obviously. And then, it ran back up pretty seriously. And I remember the last time we called the midwife, we called her.
Yeah, we were calling every couple of hours, checking in, letting them know how it was going.
Yeah, and so we called her around like 7, and she was like, okay, sounds good. Sounds like we're headed in the right direction, but is she still able to talk through her contractions? Is she still able to walk through the contractions? Is she moaning? Is she groaning through them? And so we got off the phone with her because at that point it was pretty intense, but I wasn't moaning or groaning or anything. And so I was like, oh, so in order for her to tell me I gotta come in, I gotta groan, I'm like, all right, bet I can groan. Like, what do you mean? And so I started having the contractions were already intense. It's just not, that's not how I was dealing with them. I was just trying to breathe through them and like stay in a positive mindset. I was like literally on my knees, like laid across the couch.
Yeah, right here.
Yep.
She was laboring right here.
Yep. And Marek would like put pressure on my back when I needed it or not touch me when I needed it. And I was just like literally in my mind, like, okay, you got this. Like, just breathe through the contractions. And like, I was trying to count. I hadn't counted the whole time, but at that point it was like, I need to focus on something. So I started to count through them to make it through. And I remember thinking, bro, like, what if I get to this birth center and they're like, oh yeah, you're only like 4 or 5 centimeters dilated. I'm like, if this gets any worse, like, I'm not going to be able to do this. And so the last time we called her and Marek was like, well, the last time Marek called her, because he said that basically
she was getting to the point that she was not able to have conversation anymore. So at first it was like, okay, like, what do you think about what she said? Is it time to go in or should we just stay here? And we're able to actually communicate. And then we got to the point that it's like at first she just didn't want to talk through the contractions, but now she didn't want to talk through the contractions or when they're over. So we got to a point that I'm like, look, I'm by myself. It's just me and her. And if I don't have no support, I'm going to be the one that ends up delivering this baby. So, like, I know you want to stay and, like, labor at home, but we need to go. So it's time to go.
He called the midwife and was like, listen, I know we're first-time parents, but we need to come in. Like, she's, and the midwife was like, yeah, that's fine. And so we ended up heading out, got in the car. The contractions suck in the car. I'm like, bruh, this is not it. It was literally
getting more and more intense, and they were super like, what's the word?
Close together.
Yeah, they were close together, but they were like the pattern was not changing.
Consistent.
It was consistent, and she was. Oh
yeah, I'm about to moan. Okay, we about to get these moans. If that's what you need to hear, sis, you about to get these moans. And so, and it was funny because as I was getting hot in the car, so literally like as we're driving, I'm going through a contraction. I'm like telling Marek to put the window down, and then like a few seconds later, it's like put it back up.
Yeah, there was a very specific temperature that she needed in the vehicle, so it's like window, okay, back up, window, back up. Like, well, I'm trying to drive. Like I'm just thinking in my head, like, don't get a ticket. Don't crash. Like, don't forget where you're going. Like, I'm just focused on that. And I knew that this day was a special day because this was a 25-minute drive, and not one time was my driving critiqued or corrected. Not one time. I didn't hear a peep from her. So, that's scary for me at this point.
He did. He said, he was like, I almost missed my exit. And I was like freaking out. And then I looked over, your eyes was closed. And I was like, oh, well, that's one thing I don't got to worry about is like me criticizing him or telling him, babe, listen, I think I opened my eyes like when we were like 2 exits away. And I was just like, okay, we're almost there. You got it. And then like I closed my eyes and like kept on going. But.
So then we got there. Mm-hmm. It was like 38 degrees outside.
Yeah, and it was really windy.
And super windy. So this was even scarier because she hates the cold. And she got to the bottom of the steps. We got about 6 steps. She got to the bottom of the steps and started putting her hands on her knees, having another contraction. The lady's there at the door. She got the door open. She's ready for us to come in. And she just stops. I'm like, babe, we're going in? And she's like, no. And she just hunched over on her knees and she's having one. And 38-degree weather, winds blowing heavy. And she didn't even care. And I'm like, oh, this is serious.
I didn't even feel it.
When she stops caring about the cold, something serious is going down.
Yeah. So this was like the moment because we got in there and took us to the triage room. And she was like, okay, I'm going to check you. And at that point, I probably like before she checked me, I probably had like 2 contractions like in that room. And then probably another 3 before we left that room. And she checked me and y'all, she was like, you're at a 9-10. She's like, oh, we'll say 9. And I was
in other words, the baby almost came out in the car like
I was literally like, oh my gosh. Like, I was so happy. I was like, I could cry right now. Because I was like, I did not think that, like, the contractions could get any worse. And if they would have gotten worse, I'd have been like, the thought crossed my mind. I was like, I can see why people opt for C-sections, because this is really ridiculous. And then I was also like, at that point, I thought, like, I don't understand how people can sit through this to get an epidural, because this is hard. But I think they probably get it a lot sooner, because at that point, it's too late. And there's no sitting still. Like, there's no sitting still. So she checked me, she said 9. And then she was like, okay, we're going to go ahead to the other. Yeah, it was really exciting. We got in the room while they were filling up the tub. I was like on my knees, like against one of the swivel chairs they had in there. The same way I was like dealing with my contractions. I probably had like 2 or 3 contractions. And then the tub was ready for me to get in. Y'all.
All the while, I was like texting family, letting them know what was happening, what was going on. Texting our doula so she could meet us there.
Yep.
Texting our videographer so she could meet us there. And just trying to like keep it all together at the same time.
He did a really good job.
She did a good job. She made it look easy for no epidural and no medication, and being the first time. Like, you would thought she did this like 5 times.
Didn't feel like it, but y'all, seriously, after I got in the water, the first contraction that I had the urge to push. So literally, like, I got in the water and I started pushing, and I pushed for 19 minutes, and then out came this baby, like this one right here, into the water, and Daddy grabbed her.
Yeah. So from the point we got to the birth center to the point that she was delivered was less than an hour.
Yeah.
We got there at 9:30 and she came at 10:19. And the midwife had told me too, she was like, baby's gonna come out and then I'm gonna like send her forward towards you, Dad, and you gotta grab her. Because Kothney-Issa was kind of like on her hands and knees in the tub. And I didn't know how close we were. And so it's just like another contraction, okay. Another contraction, okay. And then I guess the one where it was here was there, but I didn't know that. And so like I just looked down and all of a sudden I just see her in the water. And I'm like...
How'd she come out?
And she came out like this, like she was flying. Like she was like Superwoman. Like she just arms out and she was just like floating forward. And I was like... And they're like, grab her, Dad. I'm like, oh! And then I picked her up and handed her off. And her umbilical cord was really short. Mm-hmm. So she had to kind of keep her low.
Yeah, she was laying on my stomach. But she got here. It was crazy. I had a 2nd degree tear, which that was like my biggest concern, was like I didn't want to tear. And for good reason, because this postpartum journey... It's not what's up.
1st degree is the slightest.
Yeah.
Second,
you can have superficial tear where they don't do anything. The 1st degree, you'll have like a low stitch. 2nd degree, and then third and 4th degree is what they don't do at the birth center. They can't stitch you up if you're at 3rd or 4th degree tear. So we were at a 2nd degree. She was able to stitch me up there at the birth center. So yeah, it like during the whole process, it didn't feel all that bad, but like afterwards, using the restroom or anything, sitting down, like, no one recommends that, I'm sure. Like, that is just not the move. So, yeah. But either way, it happened really quickly, and I am very thankful for that. I actually thought it was going to be a lot worse than what it was. Like, I was surprised how quick it happened, and, like, I just expected the pain to be worse, just from other people's stories and things like that. So, I think, shoot. You know, like, I'm not complaining. I'll take that over what I thought it was going to be any day.
So how many contractions in the tub before the baby? I know you pushed for 19 minutes, but how many?
I think there was probably like 5, maybe
in
6.
In the tub, in the water.
Yeah.
And
maybe less than that.
What would you say to somebody else that was like thinking about a natural birth or?
When the time comes for you to push, just let your body do it, because I'm like 100% sure that's why I tore. So number one, it's like really a mental thing. Like, I think because I was so focused, there was one time where I like almost had a breakdown, and I was like, no, like, you got this. You just really have to be in your head. Well, get out of your head and like kind of encourage yourself and like say whatever kind of chant you need to like tell yourself you can make it through it, because it's not gonna last forever. It can't. The baby's gonna come out, and then trust me. And then also just like, because that first push in the water, it felt involuntary. Like, I literally just, like, my body was like pushing. And then after that, with each contraction, I was helping my body push, which is what I don't recommend, because that's why I tore. And it's because I couldn't feel her coming through my canal. I only felt her when she was like at the opening.
Is that common, or is that
I think
special?
women feel it.
Yeah.
And so for me, I was just like, I don't like, she was like, oh, her head is here. And I'm like, she can't be. Like, I don't feel nothing. Like, I don't feel her in there. I just felt I was pushing and I felt pressure on my colon, but that was it. Like, I couldn't feel her moving anywhere, like none of that. And when she got to the edge, I was like, oh, there's no way her head is coming through that hole. There's no way. And then I pushed that next push and she came through and I tore. So yeah, I think I was pushing way too hard. So next time in the future, we go chill out and just let the body do it because it knows what it's doing.
I'm proud of you though, because y'all don't know this, but she wanted to do this for like since the start of this. Like she had always talked about, I want to do a natural birth, I want to do a water birth, I want to like steer clear of an epidural or medication or intervention, unnecessary intervention. And you were kind of like also still a little fearful because we never know what would happen. And it was like, oh, am I going to be able to do this? Like what's it going to actually feel like? So there was like a lot of like nerves too.
Yeah.
And so I just want to say I'm proud of you because you kind of, you know, you challenged yourself mentally and got over the mental hump and basically, you know, willed your way to doing it. Yeah. And of course, God is with us and protecting us the whole way through. But there's a mental aspect to that as well, that you have to have, you know, a belief that you can do it or that God can do it through you. So kudos to you for doing that. Babe.
He was great support. He, like, anything I was asking, he was doing. I was like, okay, don't touch me. Okay, I need pressure. Okay, more. Okay, less.
Yeah, she had this mental thing with water too. Like, I was giving her sips of water from this little cup, but she wasn't even really drinking it, but it was like it was helping her.
That's because like, all that daggone groaning. My throat was hurting.
She would take like the smallest little sip, and I was like, you need water? She's like, yeah. I give her this little sip, and she's like, oh, perfect. I'm like, you didn't even drink anything. So it's just like,
my throat was hurting.
I don't know.
I'm like, man, all that groaning I was doing before, I should have saved my voice for that daggone pushing because that was groaning that actually needed to happen. Yeah.
So then she came. We had to do a lot of paperwork. Yeah. There was lots of little like logistical things that I had never really put much thought into. But weight, obviously, height, weight, length, weight, head circumference. Lots of stuff to sign, lots of stuff to fill out.
Yeah, she was 6 pounds, 5 ounces, 19 inches long, and 33 centimeters for her diameter.
I think so. Yeah, I think that's right. And then they were like trying to get the placenta out and, you know, doing all that stomach pressure to get the rest of the blood out.
That's worse than pushing the baby out, really. When they come in there and like
stitching you up.
Well, that I didn't feel because they numbed it, but that like pushing on my uterus to make sure like all the blood got out, I was like, can y'all not? Like, what the heck? And she was like, oh yeah, I'm coming back every 15 minutes. It felt like sis was there every 2 minutes. I'm like, dang, you just got done. That stuff is not, literally 2 or 3 days afterwards, like my stomach was still like bruised from how hard she was, but not even just my uterus, just like the layer.
Not to say anything about them. We're just talking about the experience.
Oh yeah, like they have to do it everywhere. Like if you have a baby, they're gonna need to like push on your uterus to make sure that you don't have excessive bleeding and that your uterus is like shrinking how it needs to. But it's not pleasant at all, like at all. It's worse than pushing the baby out, for real.
Yeah. But shout out to New Birth. Our overall birth experience was phenomenal.
Yes, absolutely. We'll have. If we are here, God willing, I mean, I guess where are we going? We'll have a baby unless we have a home birth. We'll see. We will be going back to New Birth, so.
We basically had a home birth. We got there and had 1 more hour left of labor. Yeah. Like almost everything was done right here in the house.
Yeah, but that is our birth story, and that's how this little angel came to me.
Praise God.
And so.
ZALAYAH. Mm-hmm. You might remember the first time we talked about this name.
We got Alaya, Zariah, ZALAYAH.
They're just making up some stuff. Hey, we're gonna cut this video right here. Y'all let us know down in the comments below what y'all think about how far we've gotten so far. So right now our top contenders are Alaya and Zariah.
And ZALAYAH.
No ZALAYAH. And I've truly warmed up to it now. Initially, I just thought she was making a joke, like, mixing two names together. But then as we started to talk about it more, it kind of grew on me.
Yeah, and we found a meaning on there on the internet that said it means God's gift. So I was like, that's perfect because this is God's gift.
Amen.
Precious little angel. So that's all. We hope you enjoyed our birth story. We will hopefully soon have some video footage.
She's knocked out.
So we'll catch you on the next one.
Bye.